This is one very rainy afternoon here in Colorado. It's a downpour, actually. You may be able to hear it in the background. And it's very welcome because this past week we've had forest fires in the area. This heavy rain has also ushered in a cool front where our temperatures have dropped about 40 degrees pretty quickly. So, given that this episode is not about riding in the rain, I decided to pass on taking a ride as I normally do before recording this episode. But in this podcast, I've tried not to repeat myself, although I'm sure I do, constantly. Peace, Love, Moto, as you know, is about the peace of mind that we sometimes find from the seat of a motorcycle. But the podcast is also about love. It's about what love for others may look like, again, from a motorcyclist's perspective. Sure, we seldom hop on our motorcycles and share with our riding buddies, hey, let's go out and spread some love today and make the world a better place. Maybe we're not in that mindset. We're usually just thinking about ourselves, the freedom of the road and all that stuff, which is perfectly fine, nothing wrong with that. But back to repeating myself, with your permission, I want to replay what I feel is maybe one of the more important episodes thus far. This one is especially about forgiveness, and it's about compassion, and it's about showing love for a stranger in ways we may not be thinking about. So let's go back to what I hope is a compelling story from last year, early part of 2023. It's about wrong assumptions about a driver who almost killed you. What's this guy doing? He's right on my tail. Doesn't he realize how dangerous this is for me on a motorcycle? And that car up ahead, he's drifting into my lane. I bet he's on the phone, maybe texting. Don't they care? Don't they care? In today's short episode, let's share together in a short story from both sides of the windshield, from our side and from their side. Let's think about it. Let's think about the possibilities. Let's learn a little bit more about love. Let's learn a little bit more about compassion. Let's explore a little further what a heart full of kindness might look like, and where all of this can be applied from the seat of a motorcycle. Thank you for joining me today. Recorded in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome to Peace, Love, Moto, the podcast for motorcyclists seeking that peaceful, easy feeling as we cruise through this life together. Are you ready? Let's go! You know, if we're honest with ourselves and we've ridden enough miles, you know very well that there are some times when we're going to have close calls. Now, what do I mean by close calls? Well, that's when someone turns in front of you. Someone drifts into your lane and you know very well that they're looking at their phone. And they just don't seem to give a darn about the person, you, on the motorcycle. You're convinced of that. You're mad. Sometimes you want to chase them down and just curse them out for threatening your life. But I know you. You looked at the title of a podcast called Peace, Love, Moto. You decided to listen in at least once and find out what this thing is all about. And it's not about being angry at a person or being angry at the world. You realize that you've been given a tremendous gift. Somehow, you have a motorcycle in the garage. Maybe you came from a wealthy family who helped you pay for it, or maybe you just saved and saved until you earned enough money to at least put down the down payment. But somehow, you have a gift in the garage, your motorcycle, and you appreciate it. I know you because you realize that motorcycle has maybe saved you a few times. It's taking you to places where your mind and your body could relax, and you needed that. Some of us achieved the ultimate out of our bike. Some of us achieve that peace of mind, at least for a little while. It was a fabulous Friday afternoon. The 6 of us took off early and met up and rode our motorcycles over into the mountains. We rode over to Nederland, Colorado, surrounded by snow-capped mountains, and we visited the Carousel of Happiness and took a little ride. And then we headed right over to the great little coffee shop next door called Train Car Coffees, and then we hit the peak-to-peak highway to carve the twisties down through the canyons and over the mountaintops, just having a blast. We decided to head down into the valley, so we cruised down Highway 34 from Estes Park, following the Big Thompson River. There was a little bit of traffic, but not very much. We were able to squeeze them around it pretty quickly, fairly carefully. We followed the endlessly curving roads, pushing the speeds a little bit. You know, we're just doing our own thing. We're having a good time. We're experienced. We know what we're doing. We're careful enough. Life is short. Let's go for it. Once we reached Loveland, we took a left on Wilson Avenue and headed north. Our next destination was the Howling Cow Cafe over at the Noosa place, which is just on the north side of Fort Collins. Some good twisty roads heading over Horsetooth Reservoir from there. That's going to be fun. Yeah, maybe we were riding a little too tight, a little too fast and close. But hey, we felt great, and more importantly, we looked really good riding like that. It was just when we reached the intersection, at the light, that it happened. A very close call. We most certainly had the right of way. How could she just turn in front of us, causing us to slam on our brakes and narrowly miss each other because we were riding kind of tight, and we almost went into the ditch? She looked right at us when she turned. She looked right at us. Yeah, we were going a little bit fast and a little bit too tight, but surely she could have been paying a little bit more attention. Surely she could have known that she didn't have enough time to take that left turn in front of us. Why? Then to top it off, she just kept looking at us as she turned. She didn't even stop to see if we were okay. She just kept on driving. We pulled off as soon as we could to the next open space and checked on each other. A few of us were a little bit shaken up, but we just struck it up to idiot drivers. There are a lot of idiot drivers, and there's just one more driving away from us. She never expected her life to turn out this way. She knew when she married him that he had a mean side, but she thought that after their first child, he'd become a good dad and he'd start being kind to her. Then when she had the second child 3 years later, no, still no change. In fact, it got worse. She just had to do something. So she filed for divorce. Her hope was that today, Friday, would be the day when it would all stop, when she could just get on with her life with her 2 kids. No one was available to take care of them when she had to go to the courthouse. She had to take them along, and she had to ask someone there to watch after them for a few minutes while she tried to get through this last argument in front of the judge about what would have to happen. Her world was completely shaken, and as her attorney escorted her back to the car and someone from the courts helped put the babies into their car seats, she really wasn't sure if she could even drive. But she just had to get home. It was near that intersection when she needed to turn left when the perfect timing happened and both babies started to cry. And then she started to cry too. She heard the sounds of squealing tires and honking horns, and she looked right at them. She was so sorry. She knew she could have hurt somebody. But she was already hurting inside so much, she didn't know what to do. She didn't want to face anybody, and she wasn't going to argue once again. So she just drove on home. Most of the time, we never know what's going on in the life of someone else. Yeah, it could very well be an idiot that turns in front of us or drifts into our lane, but it also may be someone whose life has shattered. It may be someone who needs to see a little bit of compassion from a motorcycle rider, even if it's a friendly wave indicating it's okay, all is forgiven, don't worry. It's really easy for us to get angry at those drivers out there who don't seem to care, but I think we have to take a very bold step, and assume that by controlling our emotions, and better yet, showing forgiveness, maybe, just maybe, that driver will be a little bit more careful, watchful of motorcycles, and care enough to give you the space and just give you a wave right back. Well, thanks again for listening to this episode from last year. I need to be reminded all the time that it's not about me, that there's a lot of people out there who are living their lives and maybe going through some really, really tough times. And if I can just show a little bit of kindness toward them, whether it's a smile or a wave or just giving them a little bit of extra space, maybe that's just what they need. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. I wish you peace. I wish you love.
Take away all my sadness, fill my life with gladness, ease my troubles, that's what you do.